Hello there, I'm Headless, your local headless VTuber who uses they them pronouns, and I just got done watching the second episode of Min-Maxed for the third time. This video, by the way, is not spoiler-free. If you need spoiler-free and want to see the art, then I'll be making shorts of each of these that will speak only about the art, so you can still see the process and end result. Who will I be picking next after Megan? Well, I was going to choose by rolling a die, but Bensei recently put out a very sweet thank you to his followers, and we reward sweet little cinnamon rolls that could kill you in this house. For those who were not here last time, we'll still be calling Pointy Shooty David and Stabby Slashy Duo because I think I'm hilarious. I cannot believe I have to say this again in the second script. I'm sorry. Other than this statement, I will not be directly addressing a video that we're all upset about. I just don't have anything to add to the discussion. When Crispy roasts you, you should be done. I won't stop you from talking about it in the comments, though. Let's get into my thoughts mixed with art commentary. Please remember that I am still very new to pixel art, and this is not a masterclass. The art I will be using for reference is the official character art for the campaign, done by Marvin Blattert. Just like last time, the bikini on the base is specifically to help me with the starting points for anatomy since I don't like shading and I am allergic to outlines. I noticed well into my recording that I don't record modding the doll base, which is funny because it's part of the process, but my brain just automatically goes, no one wants to see that. Don't ask me questions, not even I know. Hopefully, I'll remember to record it next time. I know what you're about to say here. Why are the pants so plain? The pants that Bensei wears are space pants! Don't worry, I will have an explanation for that later. Just keep watching. Or skip ahead, I don't care. There seems to be a misconception from the last video I want to clear up. The looks are drippy. I just like new shiny things better. I thought I'd poke some fun at the folks whose designs never seem to change, but I never meant it to come off that I didn't like those looks. I think they're great, and I don't think they need to change, I just have my preferences. Like Duo taking off his shirt. What? Who said that? Must have been something undead. Anyways, the last time I talked about Min-Maxed, I talked about how I was hoping for close-ups, which apparently are called punch-ins. That's cool, we're learning new stuff. I said I was worried they might get overdone, and my worries were completely unfounded. This was a great balance in shots. I didn't say anything last time about the sound quality because I feel like it had been said, but this time around, the sound quality improved and I want to mention that. Well done. I could not breathe this episode. It was so funny. Honestly, I want to show you a clip that sums up the entire episode.
I have nothing to stop you from doing that. You're welcome.
Yes, including the tongue-in-cheek "you're welcome" at the end. The himboism hits hard, and I love it. Clark is quickly becoming my favorite character to watch, mostly because it's D&D. And in an actual play, watching characters fuck up is super fun. Clark is more than willing to do that in situations that are natural for his character, and I refuse to understand why we did not just let him fly gleefully off the roof into enemy hands. He's a tank, he could have handled it. Also, he's a tank. It would have been really funny to watch him George of the Jungle into a wall. I've also noticed that Jack and I differ on tactics. If everyone told me in a two-way line that they all had different plans, I would have told them all individually to wait for my signal and do what they said they would do to create the largest amount of chaos possible. Mostly because getting framed seemed like the DM plot hook, but also because if you do that, someone's likely to get caught. And I love a jailbreak episode. Just an aside, can we talk about how nonchalant this woman is about her father getting killed? Like her dad is absolutely massacred in a room she just walked through. And she's still saying, I want to see my Bard boyfriend again. I kind of want her to be the big bad. I will not lie, she seems like the kind of woman who would put on sunglasses and not look at the explosion while saying, "Take me to my lover." Also, hats off to Jack for being a horny bard with integrity. The line drop from the first episode, "This is persuasion, not deception," when he's telling his lover he'll see her next week. Chef's kiss. If Silren winds up being his only lover, I'm going to be so happy, because what a way to subvert expectations. I know I'm tired of the horny bard trope because it's a male power fantasy that's been done to death. Starting a campaign with making the bard look like that trope, but having him be the exact opposite would be a breath of fresh air. Okay, look. I've got to keep handing out roses to the whole crew here. David's description of pulling out the collapsible stripper pole out of his bag had me in hysterics. By the way, Jack, I also thought it was an immovable rod. I get you. Megan making the smartest moves with magic, but doing it subtly and quickly. And then sassing the hell out of Duo. Ben-size monk button. Enough said. Duo being willing to play back with Clark forgoing the smart choices, quote unquote, and gracefully taking failure on trying to do something cool, which is so rare for a rogue character, I will not lie. Tater, keep tating, no fucking notes. I'm sorry you didn't get your jail scene this episode, I wanted it too. Now you get to see why the pants are so plain. In the timeline of drawing, I actually did this first, but I didn't want to spoil the surprise. I wanted to make the pants look like space. If you look at the official art, you can see that the stars come off the pants, making me think we're getting a peek into the astral plane when we look at them. I tried my best to make something that looked something like space. Usually that means using rich dark purples, dark blues, navy, and pinks. And obviously a few dots for stars. But why, I'm sure you ask, would I need to do this on a second canvas? Because I want to make the nebula move. And for that, I have a tool called Background Scroll Tool. If I wasn't using this, it would take several hours to do a tedious task just to figure out if I liked the way something looked. And given the current condition of my wrist, I'm very glad this exists. I do, however, make a mistake with this tool that we'll be talking about later. Here you see that I've got a couple of lines on the screen. That's because this scroll tool copies exactly what you've done on the next row or column of pixels and just moves it over. So I have to even it out and make sure that left to right looks exactly the same when I want to move the image left to right, and top to bottom has to look exactly the same when I move the image top to bottom. When I move it diagonally, you'll see later that I use a lot of blend tools. I move the image diagonally a few pixels and then blend it so it looks a little bit better. It doesn't look perfect, mind you, but working on a bit of a learning curve. I do still want to see stat blocks, and we only know the starting stat blocks for a few characters. That doesn't include possible ability score increases once they hit level 4, which I believe they're level 5. I could be wrong. Check me on that. When I say full 8, by the way, this is what I mean. Health, armor class, strength, dex, con, int, whiz, charisma. On top of that, most stat blocks include name and class somewhere, along with some character art. I don't think this is essential by any means, I just kinda want it. And like I said before, I'd be down with just the numbers too. I think the only thing I'm a little apprehensive about is the strip club. As someone who is a former sex worker, specifically stripping and some voiceover work, I've had a lot of experience being surprised by who's willing to crack a joke or have an opinion at the expense of a sex worker. Unfortunately, I'm no longer surprised when it happens. I'm not worried about how David will handle the club that he named, but I don't know the grace with which the others in the group will handle it. I do think they'll probably be fine, but I don't want to get my hopes up. All I can really do is wait and see. I had to slow down this portion to avoid flashing, but I did the completely stupid move of using the wand tool for each frame instead of selecting every part that I wanted to omit, then highlighting every frame and then deleting. I do this one more time before realizing I could have made this easier on myself. I also use a form stamp, which is Control B in Aseprite. Unfortunately, that only works on a small scale and isn't good for the whole image. And this is where I prove that the background scroll tool is incredibly useful to me, because I wind up not liking the look of the final product and actually wind up hopping back in and not just using the blend tool again, but also redoing some of the stars, making a nice belt of stars to flash by, as well as realizing some of the edges just show up very, very plainly, so I wind up blending those out a little more. And don't worry, the background scroll tool will come back up again later. And my wrist feels better just realizing that I did not have to do 90 frames of how many layers? Over and over and over again. By this part of the recording, I get a tiny bit smarter and realize that I can do a black outline of the pants, and merge the layer down onto the space layer, thereby only having to work with one layer with the wand tool and deleting. Still not smart enough to use the wand tool and highlight all of the frames. And this is when I thought I was finished, until I remembered something very important. This animation of space that you see right here looks space-like enough, right? All the parts are moving, there's a lot going on, but it still feels kind of off, right? That's because I forgot to change how fast everything was going. So I restarted with the same layers and made the stars move within 90 frames, which is exactly how wide and tall this animation is in pixels. Then I made each individual piece move at 2 or 3 or 4 times speed, creating a much more dynamic animation. Never forget that when you get a new tool, yes, the first thing you should do is learn the basics, but a very close second thing you should do is play. After finishing this animation, I pop it into the Chatty Art and use the method I thought of and cross my fingers. I select all areas I don't want, highlight every frame I want to delete the excess from, and ta-da, no need for a flash warning. This is the final piece with Bensai's Thank you, Peter Dinklage. Thank you for sticking around for this whole thing. I know it was longer than the last one. Don't forget to watch Min-Maxed. They've got a full recording as well as a podcast on their channel. This has been Headless, your local headless VTuber. I hope you've had time to chill. Bye!